Shabbat Shalom. Welcome, everyone. Please be seated. Welcome. It's so good to see everyone. I don't know how I feel about being maskless on an airplane, but I feel pretty good about seeing everyone's face here tonight and us being able to see each other. Before we begin, just a couple, we need to turn up the mic a little bit. Before we begin, a couple of requests. First of all, if you have a cell phone, which I know you do, please take a look at it and make sure it's off, or at least on silent, so that we're not interrupted. See, I'm going to set a good example.
I was trying to be sly.
See this? Watch. This is the single most liberating thing you can do for Shabbat, is to turn it off.
True.
And it is the festival of liberation. So
That's right.
Perfect time.
That's right. Next, take a moment. We have lots of people here. Interesting group. We're celebrating love tonight more than anything else. So let's take a moment, meet your neighbors, say hello to each other, wish each other Shabbat Shalom. In front of you, behind you. Tonight you'll notice a few differences, because tonight even the Siddur that we're using is the festival prayer book, because tonight, of course, we begin the last day of Pesach, and therefore some of the melodies and some of the liturgy is going to be a little different. The page numbers will be different for those of you who are used to a certain page for a certain prayer. So just listen and we'll move through this together. And I mentioned earlier that tonight is really a night devoted to love, and you'll hear more about that as the service progresses. But we're going to begin now with a love song, Dodi Li, My Beloved, from Shir Shirim, page 389.
Shor
So I am so excited tonight for so many things. First of all, to be with all of you and to invite my dear friend Zach and his dad Bobby up to help us light the festival candles this evening. And we're going to have you guys come right on over here to where those candles are. And Rabbi Leader will help you out. So Zach, we're going to do the candle blessing like you learned it together, because there's an extra word in there, and I'm going to do that, and then we're all going to say amen together, okay? So let's bring this light in. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner shel Shabbat v'shel Yom Tov. We added that Yom Tov because it is a Yom Tov, a good day, a festival day. Shabbat shalom. We'll see you in a little bit.
Shalom Aleichem, page 363. Dodi, we welcome the Sabbath bride. L'chadodi, it is not in the festival prayer book, so do the best you can.
Yeah. Shabbat Mekabela
Page 130, our God, we're ready to pray prayer, and we are ready to pray.
Somebody get this man a drum.
Page 130. Tell you a brief, beautiful story. I don't know exactly how long ago it was, but it was very early in the pandemic, and live streaming services was kind of new. And I was on the bima, leading a service, sitting in my seat, and Betsy was home watching because it was just clergy on the bima. And I said, when I got home, what'd you think? How was it? And she said, I thought it was great. And I saw you sitting on the bima, the way you kind of sit with your hands like this. And I saw your wedding ring. And I said, well, what did you think? And she said, I thought, he's mine. Now, why do I say that? Because God gave the Jewish people a kind of wedding ring, a symbol of love. It's called the Torah. And we actually sing a love song that's a love song between God and the Jewish people called Ahavat Olam. That this is the sign of God's love for us, and our love of Torah is a sign also of our love for God. You know, if you if you think about a Magen David, a Jewish star, it's made of one triangle pointing up and one pointing down. It's a mutual love affair between God and the Jewish people. Ahavat Olam, page 134.
Ahavat Olam Beit Yisrael Amcha Ahavta Torah u'mitzvot Chukim u'mishpatim Otanu limadta Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shotmeinu v'kumenu Na'asiyah b'chukecha Al ken Adonai Eloheinu B'shotmeinu v'kumenu Na'asiyah b'chukecha ונשמח, ונשמח לדברי תורתך ולמצוותיך, ולמצוותיך לעולם ועד. כי חיינו לאורך ימינו ובהם ביום הלילה. 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 ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני אוהב עמו ישראל. שמע ישראל אדוני אלוהינו
Please be seated.
Rabbi, I know we're supposed to close our eyes for Shema, and I usually love doing that, but I couldn't bear to close mine because I had to keep looking and paying attention to you, manifestations of God. We're going to call up Zach to help us lead Ve'ahavta on page 138. Zach, you're going to stand right in the middle of me and Cantor Gurney here. We're going to flank you, and you're gonna lead us, but we're going to be your backup singers. And the rest of the congregation is too. Page 138.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך. והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך וקשרתם לאות על ידיך והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם. Amen.
Thank you, Zach. Let's read the English together on page
139.
139.
Love your God with every heartbeat, with every breath, with every conscious act. Keep in mind the words I command you today. Teach them to your children. Talk about them at work. Whether you are tired or you are rested, let these words guide the work of your hands. Keep them in the front of your vision. Do not leave them at the doorway of your house or outside your gate. These words are reminders to do all of my mitzvot so that you can be holy for God. I am Adonai, your God. I led you out of Egypt to become your God. I am Adonai, your God. In just a moment, we're going to sing the Michamocha, which I think many of us know is our freedom song. It's the oldest Jewish poem we know of, oldest Hebrew poem we know of. And of course, the song that our ancestors sang according to Torah after crossing successfully from slavery to freedom. I don't know about you. I'm not giving the Devar Torah tonight, so I'm going to kind of give one right now. I don't know about all of you, but I am always happy to see Pesach arrive, and and I'm always happy to see it go, because I'm fresh out of ideas to put on top of matzah. Olive oil and salt, butter and salt, mashed avocado, melted cheese, and that's it. I couldn't think of anything else.
In Ohio, it's grape jelly.
Grape jelly, yeah.
In Ohio.
Yeah, I know.
What can I tell you?
And I'm tired of potatoes. I'm tired of omelets. And I'm really, honestly, every year kind of happy to see it go. And I plan all week what my dinner's going to be. You know, my first carboholic dinner. Is it going to be pizza? Is it going to be pasta? A lot of bread, Chinese food with a lot of rice. And I think we all feel that way to some degree. We want to put it behind us. We want to just sing this song of freedom as if we've actually achieved it somehow. But the reason that we celebrate Pesach and commemorate Pesach, this notion that people who are enslaved have to cross through some narrow, frightening place in order to be free, and that once free, we have an obligation to uplift those who remain oppressed, never ends. The news tomorrow will be as difficult as the news today, and as difficult as the news last week, and as difficult in a month. So our freedom song is something we have to sing and appreciate every day, and our freedom obligation to liberate those who are still oppressed, it never ends. And I think we're all suffering from something I call spectators guilt. We watch the news, we see what's happening in Ukraine, and we feel so helpless. We feel guilty because we're spectators, watching other people suffer and drown in the sea. There's a beautiful Buddhist saying that I love, which is, tend the part of the garden you can reach. tend the part of the garden that you can reach. We don't have to be only spectators, and we don't have to suffer with the guilt of a spectator if we just figure out what part of the garden we can reach and tend it. And that's our job for the rest of our lives. The Talmud says, Lo alecha hamlacha ligmor, aval lo ata libatel, aval lo ata ben chorin libatel mimena. It's not incumbent upon us to finish the work, to free everyone who is oppressed or enslaved, but neither are we free to ignore them or desist from the work. So Pesach really never ends. And in a way, that gives us real purpose. So when we sing Michamocha tonight, let's sing it with a commitment that no matter how happy we are to eat chametz again, we'll never tire in the work of liberating people who are oppressed. Michamocha, page 142.
Fad Adonai et Yaakov, ug'alo miyad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai, Kol Yisrael. Amen.
Hashkivenu, page 144.
Shalom,
Vishamru, 146.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים, כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
Let us all rise now for our Amidah, as Zach is going to lead us, and you can join us on page 204. Page 204.
Kerith
told you that this Shabbat is dedicated to love, and that's because in just a couple of minutes I'm going to invite a soon-to-be bride and groom to come forward for a special blessing. But before that, I'm not privileged enough to be able to go back east to officiate. So I'll just quickly mention something that I would have mentioned were I there, which is that a wedding and a marriage are not the same thing. And there's an awful lot about marriage that you can only learn by being married. It's kind of like I've always wanted to write this book called How to Have Your Second Child First. But, right? But you can't. I mean, it's a good title, but you can't write that book, right? So there's a difference between a wedding and a marriage. So I want to make sure to give this young couple some good advice. So let me ask, anyone here who has been married from 1 to 10 years, please stand up. Okay. Oh, look at the whole back row. No, 1 to 10 total. Okay, all right, okay. All right. Anyone, let's just find out. This is 1 to 10 years. If you could give just no more than 3 or 4 words of advice to the young couple, what would it be?
Don't hold grudges.
Enjoy each other every day.
She's probably right.
Always make time for one another.
Okay, all right. 1 to 10?
Fold laundry sometimes.
If you have been married 11 to 20 years, please stand up. 11 to 20. Joel? Okay. All right.
She's not probably right, she's always right.
All right. We're in the 11 to 20, okay? Just say it nice and loud. Go ahead. Wow, this is going to be really interesting. Have you been married 11 to 20 years? Well, give her some advice. What was that? I didn't hear it. Nice. What are you, an estate attorney, or what are you, family law? What are you? Okay. 21 to 30. Anybody here married 21 to 30 years? Okay, we'll go front to back.
Never say anything you have to apologize for.
Never say anything. Okay, Kerith?
Just love each other.
Be each other's best friend.
That was my father's toast to us at our wedding. May you always be each other's best friend. Art?
Always forgive.
Always forgive. Michael?
Yes, dear.
I actually find yes, my empress to be more effective. Yes. She pretends she doesn't like it, but she likes it. Okay.
Build shared experiences.
Build shared experiences. That's good. Okay. All right. Barry?
Even if you don't forget, forgive.
Yeah, forgiving and forgetting are not the same thing. Okay. Robert?
Do something nice for each other every day.
The hardest times, lean into each other lovingly.
During the hardest times, lean into each other lovingly. So beautiful. Faith?
Love each other from head to toe, and when you can't, because something's gone awry, just let it go.
Love each other from head to toe, and when you can't, just let it go. Okay, 31 to 40. Okay. Now we're going to see the type of advice evolve, and I hope Sean and Sarah, that you're paying attention, because you're going to see now, I think, a different kind of, or a different level of advice. We're going to do you last, you two.
First of all, you should have Karen speak first. Win with humility, lose with grace.
I guess it's a theme. I was going to say be on the same team.
Be on the same team. Nice.
Laugh.
Laugh.
Be willing to let things go.
Let it go.
Everything. Fall in love many more times, always with the same woman.
Every man in this room hates you right now, because that was so good. That was so good. Okay.
Stay committed to your commitment.
Enjoy each other as much as you can.
Learn to shut up.
Okay. All right. Jan, nice and loud from there. Bike ride together. Nice.
Well, I was going to say it's a team game, but someone took that, so I'll go with happy wife, happy life.
Find things that you can enjoy doing together and sharing together.
Say, yes, dear.
Communicate.
Communicate. Okay, Linda?
No, there'll be good days and bad days, but make sure the good days outweigh the bad days.
It's better to be happy than right.
Okay, let me sneak in here. Sorry.
Know when to back off.
Know when to keep your mouth shut.
It's kind of the same advice, isn't it?
Laughter. Find the laughter.
Sun will come up tomorrow. The sun will come out tomorrow. That's so, yes, there's a lot to be said for that. Okay, and here we go.
Diffuse conflict quickly and always come back to love.
Okay, now, the parents of the groom, this is your opportunity to share brief advice. Paul?
Enjoy it because it only gets better.
I could never fall. I have a lot to say. It's a long journey, but don't look at it that way. It's every step that counts. Take it together. And remember to always dance in your kitchen.
Dance in your kitchen. Don, how many years have you been married? Not combined to Nancy.
42, 60. 23.
All right, go for it.
Learn how to listen.
Okay, 41 to 50. Okay, we'll get back over there. Okay.
Two things. Be each other's biggest fan. And I don't believe in the don't go to bed angry, because sometimes by morning it's not as important.
I would say never take each other for granted and always lead with love.
Never stop dating.
So good. Okay. All right. All right.
Yeah, mine's similar. Court each other forever.
Okay. Now, 51 to 60. Okay. All right. Your advice on how to stay married for 51 to 60 years. How many years have you been married? 56. Okay. What's the advice?
Find something to laugh about together every day.
Accentuate the positive.
Accentuate the positive. Okay. All right, Rick?
Keep your mouth shut even when you are right.
Stan?
Always walk together hand in hand in good times and in bad.
Always have mutual respect for one another.
And there you have it. So it is now my great honor to invite Sarah and Sean forward to receive a special blessing, and then Sarah is going to deliver the Devar Torah tonight. And I'd also like to invite your siblings and your parents and your grandparents to come on up and be with you for this bracha. So please, everyone, come on up. Let's bring you all over here. Come on, nice and close. Eloheinu v'Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, our God and God of our ancestors. Hu yevarech et hechatan b'hakala. May God bless this groom and this bride. May God bestow blessing upon Sean and Sarah, who are soon to enter into the holy covenant of marriage. As you stand here this evening, may you always stand side by side to strengthen and sanctify your love for each other by standing in this, the place of your people. May God help you to face the future with faith. May God teach you that the deepest meaning of love is to share life's trials as well as life's joys. May you understand that your union, your marriage, your family must be founded on righteousness and truth, on kindness and mercy, on patience and mutual forbearance. May you establish a home of loyalty and love, of holiness and peace, a place where children can grow in health and happiness, in the knowledge of Torah, and in the practice of Gemilut Chasadim. May your marriage be sealed with the words of the prophet, and I will betroth you unto me forever. Yes, I will betroth you unto me in righteousness and in justice and in loving kindness and in compassion, and I will betroth you unto me in faithfulness, and we shall know God. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, shehechianu v'kiyamanu v'higianu lazman hazeh. Amen. Simen tov and mazel tov.
Simen tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and simen tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and simen tov and mazel tov and mazel tov and simen tov. Yehelanu, 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 Oleko Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu, Oleko Yisrael. Yehelanu, yehelanu. Oleko Yisrael, Yehelanu, Yehelanu, Oleko Yisrael.
Okay, you guys can be seated, except for, where's Rabbi Sarah? Where are you? There. Here. This one.
Okay, free.
Take your time.
Thank you. I'm overwhelmed, but
I'll let everyone take their, yep, I'm waiting. I'm also gonna blow my nose. All right, good evening and Shabbat Shalom. Rabbi Leader, thank you so much for welcoming me into your community and for the whole Wilshire Boulevard Temple community and for that beautiful bracha. Sean and I are so grateful to be surrounded by friends and family to celebrate this special moment on the path to our wedding and our marriage. Over the last week, I've spent a lot of time thinking about the Passover story. I've been struck by how the Passover story is ultimately, at its core, a political story. It's a story about political liberation, from oppression to freedom, and one that has been used. It's a story about, again and again, freedom fighting and political activism across the world, and right here at home, by leaders like the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. It's also a story of a political movement, about how a people or nation formed itself around God, and that's an inherently political process. On the other hand, the blessing that we just received appears to be quite the opposite, an intensely personal blessing given to two people on the precipice of marriage, not on its face political at all. But this is a Devar Torah, and so we're going to draw a connection. Now, as the feminist rallying cry goes, the personal is always political. And that is in fact evident in the text of the blessing we just received. The blessing says that Sean's and my union must be, quote, founded on righteousness and truth and sealed in justice and in loving kindness. And what is righteousness if not a reflection of the political, of justice and love, starting at the interpersonal level? Sean's favorite Jewish thinker, Rabbi Abraham Joshua Heschel, hit on exactly this point in his famous 1963 speech, Religion and Race, he gave at the National Conference on Religion and Race, at which Dr. King was also a featured speaker. To combat racism, Rabbi Heschel said, quote, "What we need is a total mobilization of heart, intelligence, and wealth for the purpose of love and justice." And he argued that mobilization can't simply be delegated to institutions. Righteousness, he said, must dwell not only in the places where justice is judicially administered. When we leave justice solely to judicial institutions, we find ourselves wondering, quote, "Who shall plead for the helpless? Who shall prevent the epidemic of injustice that no court of justice is capable of stopping?" He explained that while most people are content to delegate problems to the courts or to institutions, that isn't sufficient. God demands every person seek justice and righteousness. This, he says, is the supreme commandment, and not one that can be filled vicariously. In other words, one must pursue justice on an interpersonal level. While Sean's and my careers are focused on politics and working within institutions, we also know righteousness can't just be in the formal process of law. Righteousness is something that everyone must carry day in and day out in one's own life and interactions. It is in some sense the idea of radical empathy, fostering better understanding and sharing in the feeling of others. In the end, larger political movements like the Passover Story and our individual interpersonal interactions aren't so separate at all. Even in a political story, the treatment of individuals is what matters. The political theorist Michael Walzer perhaps put it best when he said, "There is no promised land without me and you." Sean and I try to remind ourselves of that in a small way each night. Framed above our nightside tables are two prayer flags. Sean reads Ahava, love, and mine, Tzedek, justice. They serve as a constant reminder to pursue righteousness in our own lives. And everyone here tonight, especially our families, the Nadels, the Brafmans, Grandma Adele, and Pop-Pop, are our model and our guiding light in this journey. And we could not be luckier or more grateful to have such a kind, giving, and righteous-minded community. Shabbat Shalom.
Beautifully, beautifully done. You're wasting your talent on the law. And we've got a spot for you here in the dugout at Wilshire Boulevard Temple. Beautifully done. And just a moment of personal privilege to Donna and to Paul. There are a lot of us in this room tonight who are so happy for the two of you. And are so grateful for the two of you. And are looking forward to your many, 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 many grandchildren. But from our hearts to you, we love you and we're so happy for you. And keeping with our theme of weddings, we all know we break a glass at the end of the wedding. And rabbis make up all kinds of nonsense about why we do that. I've heard it all. Our rabbi said you should be married as many years as there are pieces of the glass to put in, and all kinds of mishigas. But the truth of it is, it's zecher lechurban. It's a remembrance of the destruction of the temple. It's a remembrance at our moment of a supreme joy and optimism that we don't forget the bitterness and the difficulty of our people and of our lives. My mom, I said this last week, my mom always said sweet and sour cabbage borscht is the most Jewish of all dishes. Because that's the truth of the matter. That we don't forget the suffering and we don't forget joy in the midst of suffering, and we never forget suffering in the midst of joy. And this is also true of the Mishaberach. We celebrate Shabbat, and it's a beautiful celebration, the metaphor of a wedding, and yet we always pause to say Mishaberach, to remember the people we love who are ill and are struggling and suffering and pain, emotionally or physically, near or far, because we want them to know they're not alone and they're in our hearts. And it helps them when we pray for them, and it helps us when we pray for them. So tonight, if there's someone you would like us to sing the Mishaberach for, I'd like you please to stand, and then when I point to you, you can just mention the name or the names. And I want to begin with Charles Schwartz, Marcy Siegel, and Alan Soroti, and we add to their names.
like to ask everyone to rise as we turn to page 306 for the counting of the Omer, this ancient custom by which we number our days, the 7 weeks between the slavery of Passover to the freedom of receiving the Torah on Mount Sinai. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kireshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sefirat Omer hayom shiva yamim shavua echad v'yom echad la'omer. Tomorrow is the 8th day of the Omer.
Turn now to page 322 for the Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגור עלינו ככל המורם. אנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא. ונאמר היה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד ושמו אחד.
Please be seated. It's now time for us to enter into moments of Kaddish and memory. With many, many names on the Yortzeit list this evening. And they say that for every person who dies, there are 9 other people intimately involved with that person who deeply feel the loss. And this is for all of us who have been and are one of those 9. If you're here to commemorate the death of a loved one during this past month, during the Shloshim, or here for the Yortzeit of a loved one, I'm going to ask you to please rise. And I'll read all of the names, and then the rest of us will rise with you, and we'll all join together in Kaddish, which you'll find on page 334. We begin first with the names of those who have died during the Shloshim. Malvin Bank, Robert Berg, Anna Chinsky, Vu Pham Hoang, Regina DeMarco, Florence Kay, Mark Kessler, Sylvia Morrison, J.C. Nadell, Jeremy Orlando, Nehemiah Persoff, and Joyce Powell. We add to their names the names of those whose yortzites were commemorated during this past week. Martin Barbakoff, Lillian Barbakoff, Ronald Barbanel, Abram Barkin, Reva Burke, Craig Burkus, Dorothy Berman, Lynn Bernstein, Doris Bortz, Jean Bosley, Janet Burns, Ann Cezanne, Betty Davids, Rivka Davidson, Sylvia Dubik, Jane Myers Eisen, Arnie Engman, Ann Finkel, David Fisher, Beatrice Fisher, Ida Frankel, Sarah Fretchel, Arlene Fredkin, Norma Freeman, Evelyn Furman, Marshall Gelfand, Janice Gary, Rachel Gertz, Sydney Gertz, Hyman David Glassberg, Ruth Glader, Diane Pragerson Glazer, Stephen Golan, Florence Goldman, Paul Grossman, Catherine Handel, Rose Handelsman, Milton Hollander, Richard Yeager, Rose Caden, Sanford Kaplan, Max Carl, Irving Kay, Louis Kine, Louis Klein, Elaine Krasno, Larry Critt, Ray Kurtzman, Eleanor Kuttner, Helen Levy, Joshua Saul Lobenthal, Beatrice Lowe, Rose Mann, Sidney Medoff, Rose Medoff, Shirley Minter, Julius Mischel, Jack Mizrahi, Richard Mosk, Renee Motley, Nasim Musri, Lillian Naim, Sylvia Naiman, Lillian Naiman, Francine Flug, Genevieve Pollip, David Rand, Marshall Redman, Celia Rochester, Terry Rogers, Dorothy Natalie Rosen, Joseph Ross, Erwin Rothman, Mildred Sachs, David Schneider, Arthur Schreiber, Isidore Schwartz, Mildred Schwartz, Manny Siegel, David Siegel, Don Senich, Benjamin Max Chappelle, Ruth Siegel, Gloria Silber, Herman Solomon, Carly Stein, James Copper Stern, Olga Stock, Jacob Strassman, Myrtle Sugarman, Jean Tabak Bank, Josephine Tramer, Sandy Ullman, Theodore Urban, Irving Wax, Arnold Walder, Terry Walder, Alma Walker, Russell Weinstein, David Yavitz, and Miriam Farkas Zink. Are there any other names to add to Kaddish this evening? We also call to mind those we do not know but to whom we are deeply grateful, those who have died defending the United States of America and the state of Israel. The tragic, tragic innocents who are dying from violence all over the world. And we call to mind those whose names we'll never know, everyone who has no one to say Kaddish for them at all. We take them all as our own. So we please rise now and join together in Kaddish, page 334. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah. Amen. Be'alma divra chirutei v'yamlich malchutei. B'chayechon u'v'yomechon u'v'chayei dechol Beit Yisrael. B'gala u'v'zman kari v'imeru. Amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevorach le'olam u'amel maya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekutsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Ta'amiran ba'alma v'imeru. Yehei shalom rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imeru. Oseh shalom bimromav. U'yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael.
Chag Sameach.
Shabbat Shalom, Chag Sameach.
Kiddush.
We're going to join together for the Kiddush on page 122. It's a special Kiddush for the festival. I'll ask you to please remain standing. Page 122. Oh, you got the...
I got it.
Great.
I got the one. Okay. The last night of this. All right. You really find out after a couple of days why it's called the Bread of Affliction. Yeah, just saying. Okay. Come on, Zach. You hold that. Please join us in Motzi.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai,
Eloheinu melech
boy, isn't that delicious? I mean, it just doesn't get better than this. Shabbat shalom, everyone.
Shabbat shalom.